Good afternoon, everybody. Anthony Aniano here from RotoBaller Radio and RotoBaller.com with your fantasy football waiver wire. An early look at the waiver wire for Week 7 of your fantasy football season. Folks, don't forget, head over to RotoBaller.com right now. Sign up for the Premium Pass. Use the promotional code ACES and save at checkout when you sign up for that NFL Premium Pass. Team sync tools, lineup optimizers, rankings, waiver wire articles, whatever it is you're looking for, whether it's season-long DFS, sports betting, you name it, RotoBaller.com has you covered. Download the RotoBaller app. It's completely free. And be sure to like and subscribe right here to the RotoBaller YouTube channel. All right, Week 7 waiver wire report, as always. Recording this before the Sunday night and Monday night matchups. That's the early waiver wire. So things can change with those two games still upcoming. So take a look in the comments for any other recommendations that may come along here. Yahoo roster percentages are the talking point, trying to keep it at players available in 50% of more leagues. Now, for Week 7, we have two teams on a bye. The red hot offense of the Chicago Bears have the week off, and the Dallas Cowboys, who desperately need the week off after that blowout to the Detroit Lions at home in Dallas. Injury news of note, too, that occurred in Week 6. Running back position, Travis Etienne and Jerome Ford both left games with hamstring injuries. Thursday night's matchup, Jordan Mason of the 49ers with an AC joint sprain in his shoulder. Wide receivers had two concussions of significance. Marvin Harrison, who ended up putting up a 0, and Chris Olave. And then tight end Dallas Goedert left the game for the Philadelphia Eagles, also with a hamstring. Other injuries may appear over the course of the next couple of days. So let's start at the quarterback position. You should be pretty strong there at quarterback. You're missing Caleb Williams. You're missing Dak Prescott. But otherwise, we have a relatively healthy slate of QBs. Joe Flacco's played well in replace of Anthony Richardson, who you think is going to be back next week. However, two players to be mindful of. Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers is rostered in only 41% of Yahoo leagues. He went 237 and 1 touchdown this week. He's healthy. That's the biggest concern. That ankle now is healthy for him. He goes up on the road against the Arizona Cardinals defense. An Arizona Cardinals defense that's allowed 10 passing touchdowns on the season already and just allowed 4 of them to Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. So Justin Herbert could be a nice stream, as could, if you're really desperate, and I admit desperate, or maybe in a 2QB format, Andy Dalton of the Carolina Panthers. 10% rostered, available in 90% of Yahoo leagues. He just went 221 and 2 touchdowns. Also had 2 interceptions. Fumbled twice, but recovered them both. It wasn't his best game. But he does have 3 out of his last 4 games with 18 or more fantasy points in a 6-point per passing touchdown format. This week, 18.9. His next matchup on the road at the Washington Commanders, who have allowed 12 passing touchdowns on the season. I don't necessarily love Andy Dalton, the player, but the matchup against Washington at least allows him some consideration. Now, at the running back position, I'm going to mispronounce it, and I've been practicing it, but Isaac Guerendo. I got it. Guerendo. There we go. I've been practicing it. Isaac Guerendo, 4% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He's next up for the 49ers after the Thursday night injury to Jordan Mason. Christian McCaffrey still dealing with the Achilles. And Guerendo looked great in that Thursday night game against Seattle. 10 carries for 99 yards. Goes up a Kansas City Chiefs defense, though, that we know is a very good defense. It's strong. It's going to be a fun game, obviously, that 49er Chiefs matchup. But Guerendo slides into a spot where we know he's going to be the feature back, assuming both McCaffrey and Jordan Mason remain out. Up to Sean Tucker of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Listen, it's deep there in the Tampa Bay backfield, but you can't ignore the guy who finishes the top scoring running back in Yahoo fantasy scoring leagues, right? 1% rostered, 99% available, goes 14 for 136 and a touch, 3 catches for 56 and a receiving touchdown. Bucky Irving had a strong game as well as they filled in for Rachaad White. Bucky Irving went 14 for 81. This Tampa Bay backfield now has gotten very, very crowded when Rachaad White gets healthy. We still have to see how it all shakes out. But if White misses time and you're looking for a flex play, maybe you're missing DeAndre Swift or Rico Dowdle on their bye week, Sean Tucker has put himself at least on the map to be added to a fantasy team. He finished with 34.2 fantasy points. It is a much tougher matchup. However, for the Tampa Bay run defense that just went up against the Saints and tore them up, they go on the road against Baltimore, who give up the fewest yards rushing allowed per game. And up third, if you're looking for depth, take a look at Dameon Pierce, who came back healthy for the first time all season and was the backup running back to Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had a monster game. He was back. But what was interesting to see was who got the number 2 carries. Was it Dameon Pierce or Cam Akers? It was Dameon Pierce. Cam Akers, I think, was relegated to only 2 touches. So he's out of the picture. He's droppable now. Dameon Pierce, available in 94% of Yahoo leagues, had 8 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown was a long run, 50-plus yards. Finished with 14.7 fantasy points. They're at Green Bay next week. I'm not saying start Dameon Pierce, but when healthy, it looks like he will be next up for Joe Mixon. So if you want to handcuff your Joe Mixon shares, Dameon Pierce would be the player to add this week. Now, if you're looking for a wide receiver and you lost Harrison, you lost maybe Olave, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Ndunze, CeeDee Lamb, all on a bye. A couple of players to be mindful of. My number 1 is Demario Douglas of the New England Patriots, available in 93% of Yahoo leagues. He goes 6 for 92 and a touch on 9 targets. He was Drake May's go-to wide receiver in Drake May's debut. Had the touchdown reception. He's got 12 receptions and 18 targets in his last 2 games. I'm perfectly okay with 9 targets per game going to a wide receiver. 21.2 fantasy points. Next matchup's a good one in London against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You saw what Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears did to that Jaguars defense. Okay, I don't know if Drake May throws 4 touchdowns, but they'll be able to move the ball. Up second, Xavier Legette of the Carolina Panthers. 19% rostered, means he's 81% available. He's got a touchdown in 2 of his last 3 games. This week, 3 for 23 and the touch. Just over 11 fantasy points, but it's a good matchup for Carolina against the Washington defense, like I said earlier, that's allowed 12 passing touchdowns. And up third, if you lost Marvin Harrison and you're looking for a direct line replacement, go to Michael Wilson of the Arizona Cardinals, 16% rostered. 2 catches, 21 yards, but he did get in the end zone on 4 targets. He's got 26 targets in his last 4 games, 6.5 targets per game. And now with Marvin Harrison out, the assumption will be more targets should come his way. Arizona against the Los Angeles Chargers in Week 7. And finally, if you're looking for a tight end, maybe you lost Dallas Goedert. You got to make up for the loss of Cole Kmet or Jake Ferguson. A couple of players to be mindful of. My top ad, and he might be a little bit of a reach, maybe a more speculative ad, but be mindful of Jatavian Sanders, also of the Carolina Panthers. They drafted him, I believe it was the 3rd round, maybe the 4th round. 7 targets, 5 catches, 49 yards. Nothing outstanding, just under 10 points, 9.9 in the PPR format. But he's now accumulated 12 targets in his last 2 games after getting very little action early. Week 5, Week 6, now 12 targets in those 2. Against Washington next week. Maybe he's an add and stash, but I do believe the rookie will have an increased role as the year goes on. If you lost Dallas Goedert and you're looking for the direct replacement, Grant Calcaterra had a nice game filling in for Goddard after he got hurt. 4 catches, 67 yards on 4 targets, 10.7 fantasy points. Eagles against the Giants in Week 7. And finally, the safest of all the tight end ads is Zach Ertz of the Washington Commanders. 25% rostered, 4 for 68, 5 targets. It's a 10-point floor. It's probably an 11-point ceiling. It's not very exciting, but it is a safe landing spot if you're looking to deal with the bye weeks. He's got 13 targets in his last 2 games. And again, Washington against the Carolina Panthers. So to recap, my top ads for Week 7 of the fantasy football season: quarterbacks Justin Herbert and Andy Dalton if you need a QB. Running backs Isaac Guerendo, Sean Tucker, and Dameon Pierce. Wide receivers Demario Douglas, Xavier Legette, and Michael Wilson. And at the tight end position, Jatavian Sanders, Grant Calcaterra, and Zach Ertz. All right, everybody, as always, thanks for watching here on RotoBaller Radio. Give me a follow on Aniano Fantasy, and we will see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.